Late Night Cash, and I'm your host, Cash Register. Tonight, we'll be discussing the highly acclaimed and confusing film Momento, directed by Christopher Nolan. The American film premiered in 2001 and was given the R rating, so be careful watching it with kids. Momento stars Guy Pearce as the main character Leonard, Carrie Ann Moss as Natalie, and Joe Palantino as Teddy. Now, to help us discuss this blockbuster, please welcome famous movie critic Dill Pickle.
Thank you for having me, Cash. First off, thank you for having me on the show tonight. It's truly an honor, and I've been watching your show since I was a little kid.
I'm absolutely flattered, Dill. How have you been? How's the kids?
Well, they're good, I guess. My daughter just graduated from Harvard, and my son's currently in jail.
Congrats, I think. I remember doing my time. 34 years for something I didn't even do. Anyways, the first aspect of Momento that I wanted to discuss was the genre. What do you think the genre and the subgrouping of the film is?
Well, that's quite the question, Cash. In my opinion, I'd say that Memento is a thriller, and the subgrouping would be a dramatic aspect of the film. Nolan directed the film in a way that is unique to the audience, and you can have many different perspectives of it.
I agree with you for my viewing of the movie. I was left in suspense at the end of each scene to see what it would lead to. There was definitely some drama in the interaction between Leonard and Natalie, and then Leonard with Teddy. Before we proceed into any more analysis of the movie, how about you summarize the movie and plot for us? No spoilers, Dill. I know how excited you get.
You got me there. And don't worry, I won't spoil anything for the audience. Alright, so Memento becomes a bit confusing for the audience because it is in reverse chronological order, meaning that the climatic part of the movie is that the very beginning opening scene, and then it works backwards to the end of the movie. Pearce plays Leonard as the main character searching for his wife's killer, and the problem that he faces is that his memory resets every 10 minutes, so he cannot formulate an exact plan to capture her.
I have no short-term memory. I know who I am, I know all about myself. Since my injury, I can't make new memories. Everything fades.
Killer. Through twists and turns, we find ourselves rooting for Leonard to see if he can find his wife's murderer.
Viewing the movie for the first time without any knowledge of the plot structure will be confusing for the viewer, so this graphic will help. The movie starts with scene number 9, which is in color, and is followed by scene number 1, which is in black and white. Then comes scene 8, followed by scene 2, and the pattern continues. The final scene, scene 5 in the example, starts in black and white, but ends in color. The graphic shows these scenes pieced together. With that out of the way, Dill, will you please give us your personal opinion of the film and your viewing experience?
Honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan. Although I read the short story, I still found the film very confusing. The idea of a man losing his memory, Guy Pearce, is very interesting thing, but there's something missing, and I'm not sure who or what it was, but there's no wow factor in the film.
I believe the movie is completely unique in the way that the plot was structured. The beginning of the movie is the end of the story, but the end of the movie is the beginning of the story. The ending, without giving any spoilers, is up to the viewer's interpretation. So let's get into the cinematic techniques of the film. How do you believe the cinematic techniques affected the way the film looked, felt, and sounded to you?
The clash of the black and white scenes was extremely interesting. Although the movie was confusing, I think that was due to the reverse order of the scenes, not necessarily the flashbacks, which were in the black and white. The quick cuts in the climatic scenes was a great idea by Nolan. There was also a few tracking scenes that followed Leonard throughout his journey, and that also added to the thrill of the movie. Overall, the climatic techniques were exquisite for the time that Memento was filmed.
Another aspect of the film that I found interesting that's different from yours was the use of sound in both diegetic and non-diegetic ways. Typically, voiceovers were used as non-diegetic sound as we learned more about Leonard and his thought processes.
It's just an anonymous room. There's nothing in the drawers. But you look anyway. Nothing except the...
And I thought the diegetic sounds were displayed more in action scenes, but there weren't many of those because this is more of a movie that makes you think, not necessarily the action. The scene comes to mind when Leonard was running away from Dodd, or driving away, and there was sound of the cars and the gunshots and corresponding to the action in the scene, but there weren't many of those scenes. So,
Do I know this guy? He seems to know me.
what the fuck?
I like your car.
Thank you.
Where'd you get it?
Are you interested in buying one?
What, I haven't made a strong enough impression on you?
I wouldn't be too hard on yourself.
Okay, so what am I doing?
How did those cinematic techniques work to develop the character's theme and setting?
Well, because of the close-ups, we were able to get sometimes it was over the shoulder and sometimes a first-person view of Leonard, and we could see his tattoos firsthand, and we could really get a feel for what he was going through, because he would constantly forget and not remember the things he had to do or what he had to say or who to talk to. So he would take the pictures, look at his forearms, look at his thighs, and to make sure he did the things like shave his legs so he could get the tattoo and all that kind of stuff. But I think that it was really cool, and it was a good way to distinguish how hard that Leonard really had it.
Yeah, the close-ups on the pictures and tattoos added to the theme, like you said, of how we should not take memory for granted. We are shown the true value of memory in our lives, and as far as setting goes, I noticed that the lighting in the setting reflected the situation. The low-key and dark lighting was used at the broken-down house that you saw in the beginning and the end of the movie, where Leonard committed murders, adding suspense to the scene.
And she's still here. I lie here not knowing how long I've been alone.
Now let's move away from the cinematic techniques into the narrative elements of the film. Dill, how would you talk to me about the quality of the narrative elements of the film, such as characterization, plot structure, development, and setting?
Alright, Cash, I'm going to start with plot structure. Since the plot was backwards to me, the film became somewhat confusing. And Memento is definitely not for the casual viewer, more for someone who wants to think and dive deep into the plot. And for characterization, I felt that Nolan did succeed in creating the characters by their dialogue and their actions, and Natalie especially. We first thought she was good for Leonard because she was loving, kind of caring for him, but then you could soon see that she deceived and decepted him.
Don't talk about my wife.
I can talk about whoever the fuck I want. I can say whatever I want and you won't remember. I could call your wife a fucking whore and we can still be friends.
Calm down.
Easy for you to say. You can't get scared. You don't know how, you fucking idiot.
Take it easy. This has nothing to do with me.
Well, maybe it does. How the fuck would you know? You don't know a fucking thing. You can't get scared, but hey, can you get angry?
Yes.
Oh, you pathetic piece of shit.
And I believe that the narrative aspects of the film both hurt and helped the viewing experience because of the confusion of the plot structure.
To go on about setting, I feel that the settings used in the movie reflected the confusion in Leonard's life. He obviously was not living in a good part of town due to the dilapidated buildings shown in the film. And these buildings kind of added to the sense of crime in Leonard's life because it's not the nicest place. It's not like Portland, Ohio.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, wherever that is. So, going on another note, what about the narrative elements and the relation to the theme of the film?
Well, as we stated before, the theme of Memento has to be that memory should not be taken for granted.
He took away my fucking memory. He destroyed my ability to live.
The dialogue, plot structure, and setting all contributed equally to this common theme. The setting constantly changing as Leonard tries to find clues to find how his wife was killed, and added to the confusion with Leonard's lack of memory and the overall value of memory in general.
I agree. The dialogue between characters such as Natalie and Teddy with Leonard showed his manipulation to the idea that memory is valuable. With his memory, Leonard would know who to trust. In terms of plot structure, we see the effects of Leonard's reverse amnesia, with the long-term result being shown first, and the journey getting there as the overall plot of the film. Staying on the topic of narrative elements, how does the movie Memento compare to the short story by Jonathan Nolan?
The plot was fairly similar, a man looking for his wife's killer, but the movie was significantly more descriptive and detailed. However, Memento the movie was kind of bad in my opinion, but the short story was even worse.
The movie was definitely more detailed than the story. The most similar aspect of the two is the fact that the ending was kind of up for interpretation. It was kind of a gray area. The book was not specific, or the short story, was not specific between his time in the mental facility and when he was in the cop car. And the movie, leaving out spoilers, of course, left the end open to interpretation of the viewer. Now is the moment we've all been waiting for. What is your rating out of 5 pickles? And give a brief rundown of what influenced your rating.
Jeez. I didn't think you'd make me pull out the pickle, Cash. With that being said, I'm gonna have to go with a 2 out of 5 pickle. Memento wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it definitely wasn't the best either. The acting at times was suspect, and the order was kind of confusing. I don't know about you, Cash, but when I'm watching a movie, I don't want to have to think about what's going on every 10 seconds.
Wow, Dill, you really dislike this movie. In my opinion, the movie deserved 3 out of 5 cast registers. I like the fact that you have to think throughout the movie, and the ending creates debate between the viewers. The plot structure is difficult to pick up at first, but the theme regarding the value of memory is well developed through character interaction and cinematic effects. I enjoyed the use of cinematic effects such as close-ups as clues to solve Leonard's mystery. The movie is not for everyone due to the amount that you have to think, as you talked about earlier. Well, I enjoyed your time, Dill, but that's all the time we have today with Dill. Please give Dill one last round of applause.
Thank you for having me, Cash. Thank you for having me.
Alright, we'll be back tomorrow night with another famous movie critic, Mr. Love, and his review of Shrek.